Hi everyone and welcome. Today we're going to talk about something that shows up in your shelters, drop-in centers, outreach routes, warming and cooling centers, and housing programs every single day, even if it's invisible. And that's the neurobiology of trauma. How trauma literally reshapes the brain and body and what that means for the people you serve. The neurobiology of trauma. This isn't about being a therapist. This is about understanding why people might react the way they do and how you, as a provider, can make everyday interactions safer and more effective. Part 1. How trauma shapes the brain. When someone experiences trauma, things like domestic violence, childhood abuse, losing stable housing, being in foster care, or surviving on the street, the brain shifts into survival mode. Think of survival mode as the brain saying, I don't have time for planning. I don't have time for learning. I need to stay alive. Overactive alarm system. The part of the brain that scans for danger, the amygdala, gets extra sensitive. This means someone may notice every noise, jump when you call their name, assume criticism where none exists, read neutral faces as threatening. An example could be a shelter staff member gently asks a guest to sign in. The guest snaps, "Why are you always on me?" The staff member wasn't being harsh. The person's alarm system was already firing. Underactive planning and reasoning system. The prefrontal cortex, the part that handles organizing, remembering appointments, following steps, goes offline when someone feels threatened or overstimulated. This is why people may miss or forget appointments, lose paperwork, say they want housing but struggle to complete steps, feel overwhelmed by forms or deadlines. An example is a man was approved for rapid rehousing but missed his lease signing twice. Staff assumed he didn't really want it. Later they learned he hadn't slept safely in weeks and had trouble tracking dates. His brain wasn't avoiding responsibility, his brain was overloaded. Heightened body sensations. Heart rate, breathing, digestion, and sleep patterns all shift under chronic stress. People may seem tired, on edge, or irritable, in pain, easily overwhelmed by noise, crowds, or bright lights. When you're always on alert, even a quiet shelter can feel like too much. How survival mode shows up in shelters and outreach. Let's talk about behaviors you see every day and how neurobiology can explain them. Non-compliance that's really overload. If someone struggles with rules or multi-step tasks, it may be because their brain literally can't process it right now. An example is a woman left shelter after curfew 3 nights in a row. Staff were frustrated. When someone sat with her, she said, "I can't sleep in a room this close to strangers. My heart rate won't slow down." Her rule breaking was a trauma response, not disrespect. Emotional reactions that feel bigger than the situation. When your alarm system is in charge, small stressors feel huge. Example, a shelter guest yelled after his room assignment change. To staff it felt minor. To him it meant, my safety plan for the night just got thrown off. This is often the freeze response. Pulling away, shutting down, or seeming unmotivated, not apathy. People may avoid conversations, eye contact, or decisions because their nervous system is overwhelmed. An example is a teen at a youth program did not speak for 3 days. Staff assumed she didn't care. Later she said, "Talking makes my chest hurt when I'm scared." Substance abuse as a form of neurological regulation. Substances can temporarily quiet anxiety or help someone sleep. It's not a good long-term solution, but it makes sense in a survival context. Understanding this helps us respond with compassion instead of judgment. Part 3: Trauma, Poverty, and Housing Instability. It's important to say this clearly. Homelessness itself is traumatic. Constant uncertainty about warmth, safety, transportation, food keeps the brain in survival mode. That chronic stress reduces memory, focus, problem solving, long-term planning. This has nothing to do with intelligence or motivation. It is simply the way human brains respond to chronic scarcity. During winter outreach, a provider said people were making choices minute to minute to stay alive. Housing paperwork just wasn't a priority. This isn't lack of responsibility, it's the neurobiology of scarcity. Every survivor deserves healing, safety, and dignity. Part 4: What helps the brain heal in service settings? Now the hopeful part. Trauma reshapes the brain, but positive, predictable relationships reshape it back. Here are practical tools rooted in neuroscience. Co-regulation. Your nervous system influences theirs. When you stay calm, grounded, and steady, the client's nervous system picks up on that. An example is a guest is yelling. Instead of raising your voice or rushing, you speak slowly. You're not in trouble. Let's work through this together. Their breathing may start to settle because your tone communicates safety. Predictability lowers the alarm system. The brain calms when it knows what to expect. You can support this by explaining what's happening before it happens, being consistent with rules, posting routines and hours visibly, warning people about changes. An example, at shelter that does routine room safety checks. Staff say before room checks in 10 minutes. Nothing is wrong, we do this every day around this time. This simple script reduces fear-based reactions. Choices rebuilds the part of the brain responsible for planning. Trauma takes away autonomy. Offering choices activates the prefrontal cortex. Even tiny choices matter. Would you like to talk here or outside? Do you want me to explain this step now or after lunch? Which day works better for you to meet? Over time, this strengthens decision-making skills. Break tasks into small, doable steps. Think one step, one success. Instead of handing someone a long stack of forms, try, let's finish page 1 today together. We can tackle the rest later. This reduces overwhelm and builds trust. Assume capacity and honor dignity. Trauma-informed care is grounded in the belief that people are doing the best they can with the nervous system they have at that moment. A provider in Flint said, "When I slowed down and gave choices, people started showing up more. It wasn't them changing, it was the environment changing." That's neurobiology in action. Everyday practices that support healing. Here are everyday things that make a big difference. Greet people by the name they ask you to use. Explain what you're doing and why. Avoid surprises. Check in rather than call out. Celebrate small wins. Offer warmth, food, and a calm presence. Slow your pace. Fast movements can feel unsafe. Don't take trauma responses personally. A reminder, every time you show consistency, warmth, and respect, you are literally helping someone's brain form new pathways towards safety. Closing, the work you're doing is not small. Every day you're offering something many people have lived without for a long time, safety. Understanding the neurobiology of trauma helps us stop asking, what's wrong with them, and start asking, what have they experienced and what might they need to feel safe right now? Your presence, your patience, and your predictability truly matter. Thank you for the work you do across Michigan's communities. Here is some closing hotline and contact info. Contact MCE DSV Statewide Crisis and Support Hotline at 855-VOICE-S4. Here are our references. Thank you.